I got a problem. I got a strange addiction. Somebody help me. I need an intervention. It ain't alcohol or weed. There's just one thing that I need. I got an addiction to fruit trees. I got an addiction to fruit trees. I take a persimmon to please. Hey, the next one I'm getting jujube. Peace, family. All right, so I want to come on and do an update on what's going on as far as in the garden, but I wanted to say something real quick. I don't want to be long with it. I don't want to say mainly new gardeners, but to new gardeners, and I do put myself in that category, obviously, but also to, it may not be your first, go around. This is for everybody. I mean, you all who are like actual real vets, I'm sure that you can attest to what I'm going to say. It's just something I've learned in my experiences so far. Y'all know, for the most part, those of you who subscribe or watch my channel, I'm all about the shenanigans and having fun and things like that, especially when little camera lady is here. We like to have fun. That's just what we do. But I do take gardening very, very seriously. The reason is because I say a lot, maybe not on YouTube so much, but I feel like we're doing God's work. Well, I'm not going to say I feel like. When you garden, when you homestead, when you're doing things like that, you're doing God's work. And I'm not trying to debate on who God is or what God is or if God is or what you call him or what I may call him or whatever. I'm not here to debate none of that. I'm just telling you that we are doing God's work. So I take it serious, but I like to have fun. Life is hard, man. And as much as I love being in the garden and working in the garden, and I don't care if it's pulling weeds or, transplanting wood chips from one area of the garden to another, I love doing it, but it's hard work also. So I like to have fun, you know what I mean? That's just who I am. My wife could tell you, man, look, the stuff that I do on these videos, this is the type of stuff that just pops up in my head random. I can be washing dishes and I'll just start laughing. My wife knows by now, but it's like, what are you laughing at? Something just popped up in my head, and she knows. Like, it's my animaniacs going crazy again. But I just feel like, life is very hard, man, and I'd like to make people smile at least. You may not really care for me, but even if you don't like me, that's fine. But if I can make you smile or even want to smile, I feel like I did my job. Because life is hard, man, and you never know what people are going through. And I appreciate, especially starting my day off, if somebody can kind of make me smile, even if I don't feel like it. It's cool. That's a cool way to start your day or end your day or whatever, man. So I just try to bring fun to it. But I do take it serious. I just want to say to those of us who are gardening, those of you who are doing this thing, especially you new ones, your garden is marvelous. Your garden is marvelous, and I want to explain what I'm saying. Regardless of what your garden looks like, I don't care nothing about that. Your garden is marvelous. All of you who are gardening or attempting to garden, if you're making the effort, your garden is marvelous. I don't care if you have 50 raised beds surrounded by 200 pots, all full of food, and you got a 100% success rate with germinating seeds, and you got a backdrop of any kind of fruit tree that you can think of, your garden is marvelous. And most of us would say, hey, that's a marvelous garden. You could have 2 humble raised beds, or you could be growing directly into the ground, not necessarily in a raised bed. Your garden is marvelous. Your garden is marvelous, okay? It could be, you could be planting in a few pots in an apartment or on a patio or on a terrace. Your garden is marvelous. You could have, you have one pot with a struggle vegetable, with a tomato plant that's on its way out. Your garden is marvelous. Why are you saying that, VA, and where is this coming from? Here's the thing. I feel like we have to figure out, we got to look at this thing in the proper perspective, okay? I remember my wife a few years ago, she was reading this article about how people measure success. And what the article was saying is that most people measure their own success by what they have in comparison to what those around them have. I mean, that's a cheap way to measure your own success, first of all. It's an inaccurate and warped way of measuring it, and you don't get into like real success that way. That's where you get into what they call keeping up with the Joneses. That's where jealousy and envy become situations in your life or in the life of those around you. If that's how success is measured, that's a horrible way to measure your own success. I say that everyone who is gardening has a marvelous garden, regardless, and I don't care what your garden looks like. Because I look at gardening, you're in a classroom. You're in a classroom. You're in a classroom of a universal university. A universal university, and you're in one of the classrooms. Are you still attempting? Are you still trying? Are you still trying to figure it out? If you are, your garden is marvelous. It's marvelous. And I want you to understand that even if you're not successful because you're not able to grow right now what you're attempting to grow, if you're making the attempt, your garden is marvelous. Your garden, that one person that may have the one pot with the struggling tomato plant in it, your garden is just as marvelous as the first person I mentioned that had all the things. There's no difference in how marvelous it is because you're still in the classroom. You're still making the attempt. And if you're not making the attempt, then you've aborted a process in your own development. I said in your own development, not necessarily just in the development of your garden, but in your own development. I say that because you can go to a class, you can graduate from and get certified in, whatever the classes are where you learn how to grow things. But learning gardening is invaluable. You can't put a price tag on that. You learn life lessons through nature. You learn things about life. You learn things about yourself through studying nature. Not necessarily studying those courses that may be in those classes. Those are helpful. But in studying nature, in studying the processes that you go through trial and error in your garden, you learn things about life. And that's invaluable. You can't put no price tag on that. So if you're continuing to try, even if you're struggling, and it's frustrating, I know, man, I know. But if you're continuing to try, your garden is marvelous. Maybe what you're doing as far as your attempts this year will prepare you for success next year if you don't give up. Or maybe before the season is out, you'll figure it out. But you're learning. When you're in that classroom, it's like a math equation. You keep on at that math. Some people might get it right away. Some people may not. Some people, it may take you long time to get it. You may have to repeat the class. But as long as you're continuing to try and you're still actively in that classroom of that universal university, your garden is marvelous. Your garden is marvelous. Like if you ask most of us why we're gardening, and here's the thing as well, most of us, if not all of us, would say, we're doing this because we want to learn how to feed ourselves and feed our families. We're doing this because we don't want to depend on anybody to do for us what we can do for ourselves. And that is one step closer to our own independence or survival even. Your garden is marvelous. You're learning. I'm learning. We all are learning. And there may be situations that you go through, even if you're a veteran, that are out of your control. You know, we've dealt with strange weather, right? You know, and I've seen it take a toll on the gardens of people who are generally successful. We've been going through things that we don't ordinarily go through. You know, the cold snaps that were happening in the beginning of the season, the up and down weather temperatures in the daytime and at night, even like the pests that you got Japanese beetles that have been running rampant. You got Rocky the squirrel and all his internet cousins, you know, tearing things up all over the place. You got aphids and hornworms and ants and, you know, all types of stuff that have been really wreaking havoc on even the gardens of those who are veterans, who do this thing. There's certain things that are not in your control, but you don't give up. You don't give up. You keep going. And that's what makes your garden marvelous, man. And that's why I'm saying I don't care nothing about what your garden looks like. I don't care about how much you're actually growing. I don't care about how many seeds you've sown or how many starts you have. That don't matter. Your garden is marvelous. And if you can look at that one pot and say that to yourself and believe it, you know, I know this tomato plant is not, it's on its way out, but my garden is marvelous because you're learning valuable lessons. You know, you're working on a problem that you're trying to figure out, and maybe there'll be other problems that come up in your development that like your children will figure out or your children's children will figure out. The thing about it is like this. When you're figuring out that equation, that's math, right? There's always a solution to the problem. There's not always going to be one solution. There generally is more than one solution, right? So for instance, you know, what you may learn as a solution to growing in, say, Alaska, you know, we got our brother up there, GT Jr. Grows. He's up in Alaska. His solution to the issues that he may come up with is not going to be the same for our brother in Georgia, Broke Farmer 76. It's not going to be the same. And I'm not saying that to name drop. I'm just giving you examples for people who may know who I'm referring to. There's different answers to the problem. The value is, are you acquiring the knowledge? Are you acquiring the wisdom? Are you learning from your mistakes? And are you correcting them? Stay in the classroom, man. You know, keep at it. Keep going. You know, keep growing. You're going to get it. You know, but just understand that regardless of what your garden may or may not look like, your garden is marvelous. So that's all. This video actually came out quite a bit longer than what I wanted. So I'm not going to do the update in this one. I'm going to cut this. I'll do an update, and then I'll post the update in a different video. But I appreciate you all. I'll see you in the next video. Peace. Your garden is marvelous. Don't let nobody tell you different. Don't let nobody tell you that because your garden doesn't look like this or it's not grown this way that it's not marvelous. Your garden is marvelous, man. Just keep at it. Peace.